The morning began with unease. I couldn't explain it at first. Just that strange, unsettled feeling you get when something's wrong, even if your brain hasn't caught up to the why of it yet. I was awake earlier than usual, the sun not even up yet, and Megan was still asleep beside me, her back turned, breathing slow and steady. Peaceful. I wish I could say I let her sleep and got up quietly. I didn't. I stayed there for a while, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I felt like I'd swallowed a stone. Eventually, I reached for my phone like I always do, habit, muscle memory. A swipe here, a tap there. Weather, calendar, work emails. Nothing urgent. And then, almost without thinking, I opened the cloud folder Megan and I used for sharing photos between our devices. We'd started it years ago when we were planning a trip to the Rockies. Just a quick way to gather all our sh*ts in one place. Over time, it became part of our routine. Whenever either of us took a photo we wanted to keep, pictures of the dogs, family holidays, stuff like that, it went there. This time, there was a new upload. Just one. The timestamp said 1:17 a.m. The image popped up, and for a second, I thought maybe I was looking at someone else. Took me a beat to recognize her, Megan, but not in the outfit she'd left the house wearing the night before. When she kissed me goodbye around 6:30 p.m., she was in a slate gray blazer and slacks, her hair pulled back, no jewelry, barely any makeup. Late team dinner, she'd said. Might run long. But the woman in the photo, sleek black dress, off the shoulder, form-fitting, elegant in a way that made her look like someone I hadn't seen in months. Her hair was styled in soft waves, framing her face. Lipstick bold, deep red. New earrings, dangly, gold, expensive looking. She was sitting at a dimly lit bar, a cocktail in front of her with one of those little smoked garnishes. The kind of thing I'd only ever seen in overpriced lounges downtown. And she wasn't alone. Next to her sat a man. Mid-50s, maybe. Neatly trimmed salt and pepper beard. Sharp navy suit. Watch that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. He wasn't touching her. Not quite. But his hand was on the back of her chair. Casual. Familiar. Like he'd done it before. Like he knew her well enough to feel entitled to that space. Megan wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking at him. Smiling. Not a laugh. Not the half-smile she gives people when she's being polite. This was different. Warm. Soft. The kind of look you give someone who's earned your attention. Your affection. And there was a caption under the photo. Just a single red heart. My heart thudded. Slow and heavy. I must have stared at that photo for a full minute before I even realized I was holding my breath. I replayed it live photo style. A second of movement before and after the sh*t. She turned her head, laughed softly, and leaned a little closer to him. I locked the phone, then unlocked it again, just to check that I wasn't imagining things. The photo was still there. I didn't say anything right away. I don't know why. Maybe because I was still trying to tell myself it had to be innocent. Maybe the guy was her boss. Maybe the dress was something she changed into later because she spilled wine on the original outfit. Maybe the heart emoji meant nothing. Maybe, God, I was already bargaining, and I hadn't even left the bed. I got up, made coffee, and stood in the kitchen, staring out the window at the quiet street below. The kind of quiet that only happens before 6 a.m., when the world still feels frozen in place. My hands were shaking, not from rage, not yet. From confusion. A slow, dull dread building behind my ribs. When Megan came downstairs around 7:45, she was wearing a hoodie and leggings, hair pulled back again, back to normal, no trace of last night's elegance. She looked like my wife again, familiar, ordinary, and I hated that I saw her differently now. Morning, she said, yawning. She poured herself a cup of coffee and didn't notice my silence right away. God, I'm wiped. Didn't sleep at all. I nodded, pretending to sip my own cup even though the coffee had gone cold in my hand. You get home late? She blinked at me. Yeah. Dinner went long. Richard's thing turned into this whole send-off. You know how it is. Richard, her boss. I unlocked my phone, opened the folder, and turned the screen toward her. You accidentally uploaded this. Megan froze mid-sip. She took the phone slowly and looked at the photo. Didn't flinch. Didn't look surprised. She gave a little laugh, light, easy. Oh, that must have synced from my phone last night. Totally forgot I took that. It's nothing, it was just a silly team photo. The bar was part of the place Richard booked. You know how he is. Big on ambience. I watched her carefully. Her tone didn't crack. Her expression didn't change. And the dress? I asked. You changed. She shrugged. I had it in my car. I brought it in case we ended up going somewhere nicer after dinner. I didn't want to look like a total accountant. And the heart. She raised an eyebrow, then gave me that same laugh again. Babe, it was an inside joke. Richard's wife was teasing me all night about how I always match the table decor. The emoji thing, it was just dumb. Just dumb. Just an accident. Just a coincidence. Her answers were fast. Too fast. And polished. Rehearsed. She handed the phone back to me and leaned in for a kiss. I gave her my cheek instead. Everything okay? She asked. Yeah. I lied. Just didn't sleep well. She didn't push. She never really does. Instead, she walked upstairs to get ready for work, and I stayed there in the kitchen, staring down at the empty mug in my hand. That was the moment it all started clicking into place. The little things I'd been brushing off for months. Megan putting her phone face down during dinner. New password. Notifications she'd swipe away before I could even glance at them. A heavier, spicier perfume that clung to the air long after she left the room. New shoes. New handbags. Jewelry I hadn't seen before. Got it on sale, she'd say every time. Or, oh, this old thing? I've had it forever. She started skipping our Saturday morning hikes. Said she needed to rest. Said she was tired. Said she had errands. But then she'd come back with coffee cups from places on the other side of town. Sometimes 2 cups. Once I asked about it. She said one was for a coworker. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Because believing her meant I didn't have to admit what was becoming more and more obvious. That she wasn't mine anymore. Or maybe she hadn't been for a while. The thing about trust is, you don't always know the exact moment it breaks. There's no loud snap, no dramatic crash. Sometimes it just loosens, quietly, one thread at a time, until one day, you wake up next to someone and realize there's a wall between you that didn't used to be there. That's how it felt with Megan. A slow drift, a series of almosts and not quites, conversations that felt like placeholders, touches that didn't linger, kisses that landed out of habit, not love. In the weeks that followed the photo, I became someone I didn't recognize. I didn't say anything more about the picture. I didn't push. I didn't accuse. But I watched closely, and what I saw kept confirming the thing I didn't want to admit. She was slipping away. Take her phone, for example. Used to be it was just there, on the nightstand, on the counter, in the cup holder of her car. Now it was always face down, always locked. She'd changed her passcode a few months earlier, claimed it was an IT security policy from work. They're cracking down, she said. Everyone has to have biometrics now. I believed her at the time, but lately, she started taking it with her everywhere. Even to the bathroom, even to the laundry room, like she was afraid of leaving it alone for more than a few seconds. If it buzzed while we were in the same room, she'd silence it without looking. Sometimes she'd glance at the screen and tilt it away from me before slipping it into her pocket. And her schedule? That changed too. Meetings started running later. Weekend strategy sessions popped up out of nowhere. Her calendar was always full, but I couldn't help noticing how none of these mysterious work events ever showed up on the family planner she used to swear by. We used to plan everything together. Groceries, vacations, even random little stuff like movie nights or wine tastings. Now I'd find out about her plans only after they'd already happened. Oh, sorry, I meant to tell you. It was a last-minute thing. Always last minute. One Friday night, I came home from work to find a note on the fridge. Dinner with team, might be late. Don't wait up. Love you. With a little smiley face at the end. The smiley felt like an insult. a cartoon band-aid over a bullet hole. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table, microwaved leftovers turning cold in front of me. I tried to distract myself with a game on my phone, then a show I wasn't really watching. Every few minutes, I checked the time. 9:47, 10:12, 11:03. At 11:42, I texted her. Everything okay? No response. At 12:16, the garage door opened. I didn't say anything when she walked in. She smelled like that expensive perfume again. The kind that made the air feel heavy. She looked tired, but not in the way someone does after a long meeting. More like she just left a different world and wasn't quite ready to return to this one. "Hey," she said, setting her purse down. "Sorry I'm late. Lost track of time." "It's fine," I said, not looking up. She lingered for a moment, like she wanted me to ask her more. But I didn't. That was how we communicated now, in omissions, in silences, in the things we didn't say out loud. We used to laugh over dumb sitcoms. We used to argue over takeout menus. We used to fall asleep mid-conversation. Now we were just roommates, polite, distant, functional. And the worst part? I missed her. I missed her even when she was standing right in front of me. It was around that time that the gifts started showing up. Small things at first. A new bracelet, a designer tote bag, a pair of sunglasses that still had the Nordstrom tag tucked inside the case. She said she found them on sale. Said she had gift cards. Said it was nothing. I wanted to believe her. But Megan had never been a splurger. Not like that. She was careful with money. Practical. Always the one to talk me out of impulse buys, not the one making them herself. Then one morning I noticed a receipt in the trash. A small folded piece of thermal paper from a boutique I knew she didn't shop at. The total was over $400. When I asked about it, she barely blinked. "Oh, that's for the team gifts. Richard's retirement. I offered to cover it and expense it later." She said it so casually, like it was no big deal. And maybe it wasn't. But something in her tone felt too smooth, too controlled. Like she'd practiced that answer before I even asked the question. That weekend, I suggested we take a day trip. Just the two of us. Something low-key. Drive up the coast, maybe grab lunch at the marina like we used to. I even offered to book the restaurant and make the playlist. A callback to our old, spontaneous Saturdays. She hesitated. "I think I have a client lunch," she said. "On a Saturday? It's a last-minute thing. Richard asked me to go in his place." I nodded slowly, feeling my throat tighten. "Right, of course." She turned away before I could read her expression. A few minutes later, I heard her upstairs, laughing softly on the phone with someone. The door was closed. I didn't ask who it was. I already knew I wouldn't get the truth. By now, I'd started keeping track. Not in an obsessive way, at least that's what I told myself. I wasn't snooping through her stuff. I wasn't reading her texts. But I was observing. I had to. Because the old version of our life, the one where we trusted each other without question, didn't exist anymore. I started noting what time she left for work, what time she got home, what outfits she wore when she said she had client drinks. I noticed the days she seemed rushed to leave and the ones when she came back glowing. Her mood just a little too lifted for someone who'd supposedly been crunching spreadsheets for 8 hours. I started to see the patterns. How she wore the same black dress from the photo more than once. Always when she said it was a team dinner. How she'd suddenly have plans the same nights I did. "Oh, you're out with the guys. Cool, I'll just do a girls' night." Only her phone would never ring. No girls called. No texts lit up the screen. She was planning these overlaps, making sure she had cover. And me? I was letting it happen, because I wasn't ready for what came next. Because suspicion is easier to live with than confirmation. Because once you know, really know, you can't go back. But the photo was still there. Every time I opened that cloud folder. Every time I saw her smile at that man, the red heart hanging like punctuation at the end, I felt it all over again. The unraveling, the ache, the truth she hadn't admitted, and I hadn't asked her to. Not yet, but I was getting closer. And so was the breaking point. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember that because Tuesdays used to be our slow nights. No plans, no errands, no obligations. We'd usually make something easy for dinner, split a bottle of wine, and fall asleep on the couch halfway through a documentary we never finished. That version of us felt like a dream now, something I imagined, not something that had actually existed. This Tuesday, she came downstairs dressed in heels. Not the work heels. The ones with the red soles I hadn't seen in years. Paired with a tailored trench coat and what looked like a dress underneath, though I couldn't be sure. Her perfume arrived before she did. Bold and intoxicating. The same one she'd been wearing on those work nights lately. "You going somewhere?" I asked casually, not looking up from the newspaper I wasn't really reading. She paused. Just long enough for me to notice. "Strategy session," she said. "Richard's team. Off-site. We're prepping for next quarter's rollout. Might be a late one." Strategy session. Off-site. Late one. I nodded slowly, folding the paper and setting it aside. "Want me to heat something up for when you get back?" She smiled, but it didn't touch her eyes. "Don't worry about me. I'll grab something." I watched her check her lipstick in the hallway mirror, adjust her hair, and give herself one last look. She seemed nervous, no, deliberate, like an actress walking on stage, trying to remember her lines. She kissed me on the cheek and left, the door closing behind her with a click that felt louder than usual. I waited a full 2 minutes. Then I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and followed her. It's strange how familiar you become with someone's patterns. I didn't have to rush. I knew how long it would take her to pull out of the neighborhood, how she always paused at the stop sign just long enough to check her makeup in the rear view. I followed at a safe distance, a few cars back. I kept my headlights low, my music off, windows cracked just enough to keep my breathing steady. My heart wasn't pounding. I thought it would be, but it wasn't adrenaline I felt. It was something colder, more focused. She didn't drive toward the office park. She didn't even pretend to. Instead, she turned east, toward the hills, past the old train station, past the cafes and the theater we used to go to. She took a winding road that led up toward the boutique hotels near the edge of town. The ones designed for privacy, quiet luxury. I already knew where she was going before she pulled into the parking lot. The Marlowe. It was the same place her coworker had mentioned once at a holiday party. Back when Megan used to invite me to those. "That place Richard always books," he'd said, laughing. "Swears by the whiskey and the discretion." I parked on the street a block away and waited. Watched. 5 minutes later, a black Mercedes pulled up near the entrance. And there he was. Same man from the photo. Same beard. Same expensive coat and easy posture. He got out of the car, adjusted his cufflinks, and waited by the curb like he'd done it 100 times before. When Megan stepped out of her car, her face lit up. It was subtle, but I saw it. Her whole posture shifted, relaxed, open, like she'd just stepped into a world that made sense again. He smiled and leaned in. Not a hug, not quite, but she tilted her head as he spoke close to her ear. She laughed. Then she brushed her hand across his arm, the way she used to touch me when we were first dating. Not for attention, not for show, just instinct. And then she kissed him. Quick, familiar, like punctuation, like this wasn't new. Together they walked inside, side by side. No rush, no guilt, no hesitation. I didn't move, couldn't. I sat there with both hands on the wheel, eyes locked on the glass doors as they closed behind them. And that was it. All the doubts, the questions, the mental gymnastics, it all snapped into place. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This was fact. My wife was having an affair. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. What more was there to see? I drove home on autopilot, the world around me a blur of red lights and half-heard music leaking from other cars. The house looked the same as it had when I left, quiet, warm, normal. But everything inside had changed. I went upstairs and opened the closet. Her side was full, as always, neat rows of blouses and cardigans, coordinated by season. Shoes lined in perfect order. Scarves hanging from the rack she bought at that little shop in Sedona. I pulled out her suitcases. It wasn't anger that moved me. It wasn't even heartbreak, not yet. It was resolve. For every sweater I folded, I thought about the dinners I ate alone. For every pair of shoes I packed, I remembered the excuses, the meetings, the phone turned face down, the perfume, the lies. I set the bags by the door, clean, precise, the way she always liked things. Then I sat on the couch, staring at nothing. The silence felt louder than ever. And still, some stupid part of me hoped she'd walk through that door with an explanation I could believe. She didn't. She got home after midnight. I heard her keys in the door, the rustle of her coat. She didn't notice the suitcases at first. She was humming. When she finally saw the bags, she froze. "Thomas?" she called out. I stepped out of the kitchen. "They're yours." She blinked. "What? What is this?" "I followed you." Her face went still, like a screen frozen in time. "I saw you at the Marlowe," I said. "I saw you with him." She didn't speak, just stared. Then, quietly, "It's not what you think." I let out a bitter laugh. Don't insult me like that." There was a long silence. Then she nodded once. Just once. No tears. No denial. And she walked past me, upstairs, like she needed a moment to decide what version of herself to be next. The days that followed were surreal. She didn't leave. She didn't beg. She stayed. She moved into the guest room and acted like we were in limbo. She made breakfast like she used to. She asked about my day. She texted me photos of our dog doing something cute in the backyard, like none of it had happened. But I was gone. Not physically. Emotionally. I responded when I had to, but it was like talking through a window. I didn't look her in the eye. I didn't reach for her hand. I didn't ask where she went or who she saw or when she was coming back. I didn't need to. That connection, the thing that once tethered us so tightly, gone. There's no switch you flip when you stop loving someone. It's more like realizing the lights have been off for a while. You just didn't notice until your eyes adjusted. One morning, I woke up and she wasn't there. I mean, really gone. The guest room was empty. Her toothbrush gone. Her things cleared. I thought she'd left for good, and I braced for the relief I thought I'd feel. But that's not what happened. Because at 6:18 a.m., someone knocked on the front door. Softly, hesitantly. I opened it and found her standing there. Mascara streaked. Jacket buttoned wrong. Hair undone. She looked wrecked. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside. She walked in like she was entering a stranger's house. Because she was. That's what we were now. Strangers. And the worst part? I didn't feel rage. I felt nothing, which somehow hurt more. She stayed for 3 more weeks. 3 weeks of silence and small talk. 3 weeks of her moving around the house like a ghost who hadn't figured out she was already dead. 3 weeks of me pretending I didn't notice her slipping into the bathroom with her phone, whispering through closed doors, or stepping outside, just to get some air, while never quite walking far enough away to lose reception. She made coffee in the morning, like always. She asked if I needed anything from the store. She folded my laundry. And through it all, she kept trying to act like we were still something. Like the routine could hold us together if she clung to it long enough. But I didn't play along. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just stopped responding. There was no warmth left in me. No more fights to be had. The part of me that would have screamed or cried or begged for the truth had already burned out. And I think that scared her more than anything else. One night she made dinner. Like actually cooked. Set the table, lit a candle, pulled out the good plates we usually saved for holidays or guests. I came home to the smell of garlic and rosemary. Soft jazz playing in the background. It was the kind of meal she used to make when we were dating, when she still wanted to impress me. She stood in the doorway to the kitchen, nervously smoothing down the hem of her sweater. "I thought we could have dinner," she said. "Talk." I stared at the table for a long moment. Then I sat down. She poured wine into my glass, hands shaking just enough to spill a drop onto the linen napkin. She didn't notice. "I know I hurt you," she said, sitting across from me. Her voice was low, careful, like she was handling glass. I know I messed up, but I'm still here, Thomas. I haven't run away. Doesn't that mean something? I took a sip of wine. Why didn't you just leave that night, when I packed your bags? She looked away. Because I didn't want it to be over. You kissed him. I know. You met him at a hotel. I know. You lied to me, over and over, for months. Her lips trembled. I didn't plan for any of it to happen. I didn't wake up one day and say, "Hey, I think I'll throw my life away." No, I said. You just chipped at it a little at a time. One lie here, one omission there, until it all crumbled. She reached for her wine but didn't drink. Her hands stayed wrapped around the stem like it was holding her up. I felt invisible, she said finally, like I was disappearing. You were always working, always tired. We stopped seeing each other. I was lonely. I nodded slowly. So your solution was to find someone else who made you feel seen. She flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? She was silent. And that's when I said it. I want a separation. She looked up so fast I heard her neck crack. What? I'm not filing for divorce. Not yet. But I can't live like this. I can't keep pretending you're someone I trust when you're not. I can't lie next to you and wonder if you're still seeing him. Or if it's someone new. Tears filled her eyes. I told you I ended it. You also told me it was just dinner. That it wasn't serious. That he was your boss. That it was all innocent. You had an explanation for everything, Megan. And every one of them was a lie. She reached for my hand across the table, but I pulled mine away. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. We talked logistics the next morning. She asked if she could stay with a friend. I said that was fine. She asked if we could keep things quiet for now, not tell family yet. I said that was her call. She packed lightly, just a few things. Said she'd be back for the rest after the weekend. And when she closed the front door behind her, I stood in the hallway for a long time, listening to the silence. It was cleaner now. Honest. Empty, yes, but at least it didn't lie to me. She texted a few days later. Can we talk soon? Please. I need to see you. I stared at it for a while before replying. Sunday, noon. Here. She showed up right on time, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt I hadn't seen in years. No makeup. No perfume. Just her. The version of her I used to know, or wanted to believe I had. We sat on the porch. I didn't invite her inside. She didn't ask. I've been seeing a therapist, she said quietly. Twice a week. I nodded. I've been trying to understand why I did what I did. And it's not an excuse, but I want you to know it wasn't about him. Not really. I said nothing. She shifted in her chair. He just showed up at the right time, said the right things, made me feel like I still mattered, like I was interesting, wanted. And I didn't? She bit her lip. Not for a long time. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, to list the birthdays I remembered, the anniversaries I never missed, the weekends I gave up to help her brother move, the late-night store runs for snacks she only wanted once a year. But I didn't, because I knew what she meant. I'd gotten lazy, comfortable, routine. I stopped reaching for her hand first. I stopped flirting with her for no reason. I stopped telling her she was beautiful when she walked into a room. But here's the thing, those are cracks. Flaws. Not justifications. We could have fixed the cracks. If she'd told me. If she'd tried. If she hadn't filled the void with someone else and then lied about it every step of the way. I'm not blaming you, she said. I'm just trying to be honest. I nodded. She looked at me then, really looked. I want to come home. My throat tightened. I want to work on us, she said. Therapy. Time apart. Whatever it takes. I don't want this to be how our story ends. I looked down at my hands. Do you still love me? She asked. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was I didn't know. Or maybe I didn't want to. I don't know who you are anymore, I said quietly. And I don't know how to love someone I can't trust. She wiped a tear with the back of her hand. Please, Thomas, don't give up on us. I exhaled. I'm not giving up, I said. I'm just letting go. Her breath hitched. She nodded slowly. I understand, she whispered. We sat in silence for a while longer. Two people who once built a life together, now sitting in the ruins of it, each holding a piece we didn't know how to put down. Eventually, she stood. If you change your mind, she said, you know where to find me. I didn't answer. She walked to her car. I didn't watch her drive away. I just stared at the empty chair across from me. And for the first time in a long time, I let the silence say everything. After Megan left that afternoon, I thought the worst was over. I really did. I thought the silence would stretch out and become peace. That time would do what it always does. Soften the edges, turn rage into indifference, turn heartbreak into hindsight. But grief doesn't follow logic. It loops, doubles back, sharpens when you least expect it. There were mornings I woke up and reached for her out of habit. There were evenings I caught myself cooking for two. There were moments when I hated her and missed her in the same breath. The space she left behind wasn't just physical. It was woven into the rhythm of everything. That first week alone, I threw myself into cleaning, reorganized the closets, donated clothes I hadn't worn in years, repainted the downstairs bathroom just because I could. Each room I touched felt a little less like us, a little more like me. And I needed that, because the house hadn't been mine for a long time. Not really. It had been a stage where we acted out the version of ourselves we wanted to believe in. Now the curtain was down, and I was left sweeping the floor. She texted me again after 10 days. Can we meet? Just to talk. Please. I stared at it for hours. I didn't respond. The next morning, another message came. I'm not trying to change your mind. I just want to see you. I miss you. Still, I said nothing. The third message came 2 days later. I'm outside. I walked to the window and there she was, standing on the sidewalk like she used to when we first started dating, when she'd wait outside for me instead of just walking in. She was wearing a gray hoodie and leggings, no makeup, hair tied back. She looked small. I opened the door, but didn't say anything. She gave a half smile, nervous. I just wanted to see your face. You could have asked. I did. I leaned against the doorframe. Why are you really here? She looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers. Because it doesn't feel real. Because I keep waking up hoping this was just a horrible dream and that you'll walk through the door with coffee and a stupid joke. Dreams end, I said. Reality stays. She looked up, eyes red. I can't stop thinking about you. I didn't answer. I know I lost your trust. I know I don't deserve to be here. But if I could go back, if I could undo every stupid thing I did, I would. You have to believe me. I didn't. Not entirely. And maybe that was the problem. I'm not ready to be anything for you, I said. She nodded, lips trembling. Can I come in? Just for a minute? I hesitated. Then I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like she was afraid the floor might collapse beneath her. The house was spotless. She noticed. You've been busy. I've been alone. She winced, and I regretted the sharpness in my voice, but not enough to take it back. We sat in the living room, the space between us louder than any argument we'd ever had. I saw Richard yesterday, she said, voice quiet. I said nothing. He asked if I wanted to meet up. One more time. I looked at her then. And I said no. I nodded once. Good. She swallowed. It wasn't easy. Not because I wanted to see him, but because I knew what it meant to say no. It meant I was finally choosing to let it go. And that terrified me. You should have been terrified the night you kissed him. I was. She looked me in the eye. You think I wasn't scared? That I didn't know exactly what I was throwing away? I knew. I just didn't think it would all come down on me so fast. I didn't think I'd be standing in the ruins a month later, wishing I could take it all back. You didn't think? I said, voice flat. That's the point. She didn't argue. For once, she just agreed. I want to rebuild, she whispered. Even if it takes a year, 5 years. I'll wait. I shook my head. You can't rebuild something when the foundation is gone. She leaned forward. elbows on her knees, hands clasped. Then let me pour a new one. And for the first time I saw her cry, not performative, not for sympathy. Just quietly, like she was trying to hold it in and losing. You don't have to take me back, she said. You don't even have to forgive me. But please don't hate me. Please don't erase me like I was never part of your life. I looked at her, really looked, and that's when I realized I didn't hate her. I wasn't even sure I could. But I also couldn't love her like before. That part had burned out. And once trust dies, love loses its anchor. I don't hate you, I said finally, but I don't know if I can ever love you the same way again. She nodded slowly, like she'd already made peace with the answer before hearing it. Then she stood. I'll go. I didn't stop her. As she opened the door, she turned back one last time. I'll always love you, Thomas. And then she left. No suitcase. No promises. No manipulations. Just silence. The days that followed were calmer. A strange calm. The kind that comes after a storm when everything's still broken, but at least you can see the sky again. I went back to work. Caught up on emails. Said yes to drinks with friends I hadn't seen in months. Nobody asked questions. They didn't need to. People sense when something's fractured beyond repair. One night I sat in bed and opened the cloud folder. The photo was still there. I hovered over the delete button. Then I moved it into a private archive and locked it behind a password only I knew. Because some things don't deserve to be forgotten. But they don't need to live with you either. 2 weeks later I got a letter. Not a text. Not an email. An actual letter. In her handwriting. She didn't ask to come back. She didn't ask for a second chance. She just wrote, Thomas, if you're reading this, thank you. It means you still care at least enough to open the envelope. I want to say I'm sorry, but those words feel too small. You gave me your trust, and I treated it like it would always be there, even if I broke it. You didn't deserve any of it.